Hello, Daryl here. The channel is Programming in Any Language. The supporting website is programminginanylanguage.com or black-duck.com. They both take you to the same place, and it's a place where you find the videos and PDFs of the code. The video is downloading and installing Visual Studio 2026. Visual Studio 2026, the container for C#, C++, VB, and other languages, was released in May of 2026. This is about a year later than I expected. Generally, Microsoft issues a new release every 3 years, so we're about a year late. But no matter, it's here now and we can use it. Most of my videos up to now have been done using Visual Studio 2022. Not a problem. I'll be using Visual Studio 2026 going forward, and anything done on VS 2022 can be done on VS 2026. This should not be an issue. I would encourage all of you to upgrade to the new Visual Studio 2026 Community version. That's Community version. By the way, unless you are making over $1 million and or have over 150 PCs in your organization, use the Community version of VS 2026. It's free and has all the components found in the professional version of Visual Studio 2026. The upgrade took me about 30 minutes. I've sped up the boring download video piece so we don't have to sit through all that. My download also included an upgrade to Visual Studio 2022, which I'll keep on hand for a while. Let's watch the download install process. It's very straightforward. Watch. We've been working with Visual Studio 2022 for quite some time now. In fact, it's been about 4 years. Came out in 2022, roughly, I think. And typically, software is released every 3 years. So we would have expected this thing to come out in 2025. It didn't, but it's out now. Visual Studio 2026 was released in May of this year, 2026. The easy way to get your free copy is to do a Google search on Visual Studio 2026 download or Visual Studio download for Windows or something of that nature. Just do a Google search and you'll find it. You end up being presented with the download links to Visual Studio Community and Visual Studio Professional. Some of you might also get a link to Visual Studio Enterprise. It's in almost all cases, all you need is Visual Studio Community. It's the free one, and it has all the features of Visual Studio Professional. Visual Studio Community and Professional are functionally identical in code, editing, debugging, and platform support. The core difference lies in the licensing and pricing. Community is a free, fully featured IDE for individuals and small teams. Even as a consultant, you can use it, as long as the people you're working for are small, not making tons of, billions of dollars. You'll see that in a sec. Both editions provide the exact same core integrated development environment, the IDE. You get the same code editor, Git integration, and multi-language support for C#, C++, Python, JavaScript in both versions. Microsoft allows anyone to use Visual Studio Community for classroom learning, academic research, and contributing to open source projects. For commercial use, the Community Edition is strictly limited. You can only use it if you are an individual developer or a small organization, meaning 5 or few active users, and a company revenue under $1 million. If your team grows beyond 5 users or company revenue exceeds that threshold, you are legally required to upgrade to the Professional or Enterprise Edition. So as a small consultant, you're perfectly fine to use the Community version. This is a graphic of the key differences between the Community version and the Professional versions. As you can see, the key point here is free for Community version. Otherwise, small fortune for the Visual Studio Professional. Visual Studio 2026 provides core built-in support for C#, C++, C, F#, Visual Basic, JavaScript, TypeScript, HTML, CSS, XML, and JSON. Because it is designed to be highly extensible, it also supports dozens of other programming and scripting languages such as Python, Node.js, and SQL through workload installation and marketplace plugins. These core programming languages receive first-class tooling, advanced IntelliSense, and integrated debugging straight out of the box. C# features native integration with the latest C# 14 specifications and .NET 10. C++ and C fully conforms to C++ 23 standards via the native MSVC build tools version 14.5 plus compiler. F# supports functionally first .NET web and data applications. Visual Basic VB.NET fully supported for legacy and modern .NET project types. As you can see on the screen right now, I am doing a download of the Visual Studio installer. That takes just a few seconds. If you have a previous version of Visual Studio on your computer, the install will stop and ask you a question or two. In my case, it detected Visual Studio Community 2022. I elected to copy workloads, components, and setting from a previous installation. I clicked Next, and the download install started. The next message I got was that several packages aren't available for the download. They consisted of a couple of .NET runtime components and a Windows app SDK. My only option is OK, so OK it is. Next, you get the ability to pick extra components you might want to include in the download install. Now, as you saw earlier on the slides, Visual Studio 2026 includes C#, C++, C, F#, Visual Basic, and a few more. But here you have the option to add any extras to your download. And remember, you can always add these things later with an update. I'm going to be installing lessons and applications for Python on my website in the near future. It won't be Visual Studio, but I may want to play with what Microsoft has to offer, so I'll add the Python development series. Again, I don't need much, and I can always update at a later date if I feel I need anything else. You have the choice to install while downloading or download first and then install. I chose the former option. The process took about 14 minutes in real time using a T-Mobile internet connection. If you have a fast internet connection, you should fully experience roughly the same amount of time that I did. I did speed up the video to get through this piece quickly. Looks like we're done here. Once this was done, I chose to update my Visual Studio 2022. I do keep earlier versions on hand, primarily to be compatible with students who haven't updated to a newer version. This way I can correct their assignments if they were still programming in Visual Studio 2022. This took another 4 minutes in real time. The video you're watching has been sped up to minimize the feeling of watching paint dry. And it looks like it's done here. They're all set. They're all up to date, ready to go. So let's take a look at this thing, find it. Once everything is installed, it is simply a matter of finding the software in your hard drive and executing it. You may wish to pin it to your start button or your taskbar. Okay, let's see what we got. Visual Studio recently added. What is this? I don't need to do any of this stuff. Skipping ad accounts later. Let's go with a dark theme right now and stick with it. Once I have the software installed, I like to put a quick program together just to get it to run. That's what I did here. Let's just create a real quick project here. This is the first time I'm looking at this, completely the first time I'm looking at this. Windows Form App. Here's probably what I want. C#.NET Framework. Click on it. There it is. I'm going to create a folder real quickly. I want to just pull this thing together. I want to go into my development area that I've got here. I want to actually call something and call it Visual. So I'm going to create a new folder and call it VS2026. And go to it right away. Create a folder called Test. And we're going to go ahead and create a first program. We're going to put it in that test area. Interesting. Use your VS Code Copilot account. I don't have one of those. GitHub Copilot Chat. I don't really want this here right now. What I want is my solution folder, my properties, and I've got that. I want a toolbox. View my toolbox. There it is. Let's bring that up. See if that comes up nicely. It's initializing. It's there. Common controls I want to open up. That's there. And, well, let's do the old hello world thing and put a button on there. Put a label out there. Bring it down here someplace. Let's put a button on there. And as you can see, things look pretty much the same as they've always been. Let's go ahead and take this properties on this label and call it LBL out. And let's auto size it false, border style. I'm going to give it a fixed single. Make it something like this. That's fine. And let's take our button here and call this button do it. And let's change its size. Let's give it a comment on here, do it. Let's change the font on this. Make it bold. Make it 12. And size the button. Let's also do that with this. Bold. Size is 12. Align this. All of everything's the same. It just looks very, very good. We'll have to dig into to see what's new on this thing. I want to center and form horizontally, and well, actually, I want to let's do each one of these a center on the form format. We've got it. Let's write some code. There's my code. Okay. LBL out.text is equal to hello world. That should do it for us. Do a file save all on this thing. And let's change the form to so it lines up in the middle of the screen. No, the form, not the text. Starting position. Center screen. Go. Again, file save all. Let's run it. There it is. Do it. Bang. Hello world. Comes up nicely. It's all set to go. So that's it. We actually downloaded Visual Studio 2026. We updated 2022. We wrote a real short little program to test and see what's going on, and I think we're sitting at less than 30 minutes. We've done this all, so that's it. So let's close this thing off, and we'll talk more about this later. And things were pretty much the same, but it still was a first look. That's downloading and installing Visual Studio 2026 community version in a nutshell. That's it. I'll keep you posted on how others are handling the update. Typically, when new stuff is released, you have a bunch of users who love it and a bunch who hate it. I'll check some of that out for you as we move along. Thanks for watching. Visit the website when you get a chance. And please subscribe to the channel. There's more stuff coming every week. We'll see you next video. Take care.